It's time to talk about a Boros commander that quietly fixes a lot of Boros's biggest problems. But first, I need to know something. When you're building a commander deck, where do you usually end up? Are you team Lifegain or are you team big creatures? Comment life or big down below, because today's commander very comfortably fits right in the middle of those two camps. And honestly, that's what makes her dangerous. Today, we're talking about Bre of Clan Stoutarm. First of all, the art, absolutely incredible. Jesper did not miss. And second, this is a very clear callback to Brian Stoutarm, one of the original Boros commander staples, the Fling commander and a classic. But Bre isn't just a nostalgia remake. This is a Boros Lifegain commander that actually generates card advantage, which actually feels a little bit broken. So let's break Bre down without overcomplicating it. She has two abilities. The first lets you pay mana and tap her to give another creature flying and lifelink. That's important because it guarantees you can turn Lifegain on when you need it. But the second ability is the reason we are here. At the beginning of your end step, if you've gained any life this turn, you exile cards from the top of your library until you hit a non-land. If that card's mana value is less than or equal to the life you gained, you can cast it for free. If you can't cast it, it just goes to your hand. So functionally, this card reads like, at the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, draw a spell. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it isn't. Both outcomes are very good. By the end of this video, you should understand three things about this deck. You want to gain life every turn. You want that life gain to come in big chunks, and you want some level of control over the top of your deck. This is not a Soul Sisters gain one life at a time deck. Yes, gaining one life technically turns Bre on, but that's the floor and not the goal. We want turns where you gain 4, 6, 10 plus life, turn that into spells, and quietly pull ahead of the rest of the table. This deck buys you time, and then uses that time better than everyone else. One more thing before we get into the deck sections. For this build, I'm starting with a $150 budget. That means that there is no luxury staples, no single card costing a quarter of the deck, just a solid focus list you can actually put together and play. And then, at the end of the video, I'll show you what changes to make when budget isn't a restriction anymore. So if you want the big deal cards, stick around. Now, I've already done the heavy lifting here. I've broken this commander down and organized it into a clear blueprint, so you don't have to start from scratch. So I've got a trade for you. I give you the blueprint for building Bre, you hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, and a huge percentage of people watching right now aren't even subscribed yet. If this deck tech helps you build Bre or even gives you one good idea, help me hit that goal. Deal? Cool, let's get into the deck. The most important part of this deck is how you gain life. Yes, Bre can grant lifelink herself, but that ability costs mana, taps your commander, and is very obvious. So instead, this deck focuses on creatures that are already big, naturally gain life, or scale hard once they connect. You're not trying to chip in for 1 or 2 life. You are trying to attack once and unlock Bre for that entire turn cycle. So we're going to use cards that offer a bit of protection, like Teferi's Skyblade, a 7 mana 7/7 with flying and lifelink, grants other creatures you control with flying indestructible. Cards that grow over time, like Bre, a 3 mana 2/2 with lifelink that gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you gain life, growing over time. Cards that create fodder and evasive creatures, like Valkyrie Harbinger, a 6 mana 4/5 with flying and lifelink that creates a 4/4 flyer with vigilance if you gained 4 or more life at the beginning of each end step. And cards that enhance your life gain, like Rock's Faithmender, a 4 mana 1/5 with lifelink, but the important part is if you gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. Once these are on board, Bre stops feeling optional and becomes inevitable. Bre already rewards you for gaining life, so naturally, we double down. This deck wants cards that care about gaining life on any turn and gaining multiple points of life at once. On a budget of $150, we're prioritizing repeatable value, not flashy one-shot effects. These are the cards that turn your life gain into cards, counters, recursion, even board presence, which is very important. So use cards that can draw you cards repeatably, like Exemplar of Light, a 4 mana 3/3 with flying, gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you gain life, and whenever a counter get puts on it, you can draw a card. This happens once each turn. Cards that buff your creatures, like Nykthos Paragon, a 6 mana 4/6, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control whenever you gain life, again only once each turn. And Cards that get creatures back from the grave with cards like Guardian Scalelord, a 5 mana 3/4 with flying and backup 1. Whenever it attacks, you return target non-land permanent with mana value X or less from your graveyard to that battlefield. So at this point, you're not just surviving, you are actively pulling ahead. This is the section people underestimate, and it matters a lot. Bre doesn't exile until you find something you can cast. She stops at the first non-land, which means the top of your deck matters a lot more than usual. Because we're on a budget, we're not trying to perfectly sculpt our hand, we just want enough control to make Bre consistent. So use cards that scry repeatably, like Rumor Gatherer, a 3 mana 2/1 that scries whenever a creature enters, and if it's the second time it resolves, you draw a card instead. Cards that give you easy top deck manipulation, like Brainstone, a 1 mana artifact that lets you pay 2 and sack it, draw 3 cards, and then put 2 back on top in any order. And cards that help in more way than one, like Mazemind Tome, a 2 mana artifact. You can tap, put a page counter on it, scry 1, or you can pay 2, tap, put a page counter on it, and draw a card. Then, when there are 4 or more page counters on it, you exile it, and you gain 4 life. Benefit in the Bre trigger. Even small amounts of this dramatically improves how the deck feels. So this deck doesn't rely on one single win condition, and that's intentional. Your wins will usually come from an overwhelming board present, massive lifelink swings, or converting power and life into direct damage. This is where you will slot cards that keep you going during everyone's turn, like Aurelia, the Law Above, a 5 mana 4/4 with flying, vigilance, and haste. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card, and if anyone swings big with 5 or more, Aurelia deals 3 damage to each opponent, and you gain 3 life. Cards that will win out of nowhere, like Feladar's Sovereign, a 6 mana 4/6 where at your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. And cards that can swing really big, like Evra Halcyon Witness, a 6 mana 4/4 with lifelink, but you can pay 4 to exchange your life total with Evra's power. The key thing to remember is this: even when you take someone out, you usually end the turn with more life, more cards, and more inevitability than before. Alright, now for the fun part. If budget is not a concern anymore, this deck levels up insanely quick. This is where you upgrade consistency, the ceiling, and how scary Bre's end step actually is. The first thing I'd upgrade is library manipulation. The more control you have over the top of your deck, the closer Bre gets to casting free spells every turn. So you'll want to add cards like Scroll Rack, a 2 mana artifact lets you pay 1 and tap to exile cards from your hand, draw that many cards, then put the exiled cards back on top of your library in any order. Obviously, Sensei's Divining Top, a 1 mana artifact, lets you pay 1 to change the order of the top 3 cards of your library, and you can tap it to draw a card, then put Sensei's Divining Top back on top. Next, we're going to raise that life gain ceiling. Not just gaining life, but utilizing a lot more of it too. Serra Ascendant, a 1 mana with lifelink and flying, has +5/+5 if your life total is more than 30, which means an early way to get ahead of everyone else. Celestine, the Living Saint, a 5 mana 3/4 with flying and lifelink that gets you a creature from your graveyard with mana value equal to or less than the amount of life you gained that turn in each of your end steps. And Archangel of Thune, a 4 mana 3/4 with flying and lifelink that puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control whenever you gain life. And finally, if the budget's open, you can add ways to bring the table to its doom by overwhelming them a lot quicker. This is where you would put cards like Eroa's God of Victory, a 4 mana 7/4 with Indestructible, gives creatures you control menace, and you get to prevent all damage that would be dealt to your attacking creatures. Ocelot Pride, a 1 mana 1/1 with First Strike and lifelink that creates tokens consistently that will help you go wide for fodder, and ones that will survive will get buffed by all the life gain synergies, making you scarier even quicker than you think. And let's add another go wide option. This time it will increase your lifelinking abilities as well. Charismatic Conqueror, a 2 mana 2/2 with vigilance, but whenever an artifact or creature enters on your opponent's board, if they don't tap it, you create a 1/1 white vampire with lifelink, increasing your board presence for chump blockers, and you gain life at the same time. So that's Bre, a Boros commander that gains life, generates real card advantage, and actually scales into long games. If you want the full $150 list and the upgrade path, I'll have everything linked below. And before you go, let me know in the comments, if budget didn't matter, what's the first upgrade you would make to this deck? And if this video helped you even a little bit, hit that subscribe button. We are this close to 1,000 subscribers. Every single one genuinely helps the channel grow, and I will see you in the next one.